Hey guys, so I figured I should bring up that a lot of horse carriage drivers get yelled at in public and on the internet. We are called animal abusers, which is really ridiculous to me because we got into this line of work because we're animal people. We're horse people. There's an actual legal definition of what animal abuse is. It's basically like depriving an animal of food or water, or intentionally hurting them and harming them and not taking care of them, and basically along those lines of this is my horse that you will have a pretty hard time convincing that he's being abused. I'm not really sure where it first started. It's something that drivers have been dealing with forever. There's no definite starting point. I think it comes from a couple of different things or different ways people will think. One of which is that people kind of forget that horses are not people. People have different needs and desires and things than an animal does. Horses specifically have different ones from, a dog or a cat or something like that, or an elephant or a whale or whatever. Kind of you probably wouldn't want to eat hay and, be in a field naked. That's not really your thing, I'm assuming, maybe some of you. A horse does not want to be in a living room, sitting on a couch. What horses do, what horses want, is what we're doing with them. They have a pretty, simple mind. They have emotions and feelings and all of that, but it's not like it's going to be, the complexity of a human where you might be thinking I'd like to go, on vacation, and I, am dreaming of this or that, and I wish I didn't have to work. A lot of people think that work is a bad thing. Us carriage drivers like our jobs. We enjoy doing this, and our horses enjoy it. A horse doesn't really understand the concept of work. They know that this is an activity that they do with their person. They really do like to show off, when they're good at something. They're very kind of prideful animals. They're always like, hey, look at me. I can do this thing for you. I do it well. You're telling me I'm good and I'm doing it well, and that's making me feel good. Horses like when you make them feel good. The way you can make a horse feel good is by giving them food they like to eat. You can brush them, it feels nice, keeps them clean and healthy. You take care of the horse, and that's that horse, enjoying your company. Not every horse is this cuddly, but he's a good example of the fact that an abused horse would not behave this way. An abused horse would have had bad experiences with people. They may try to bite you aggressively. They may shy away from you. They may, try to kick you. Those are, things that you would expect from a horse that did not have a positive experience with someone. Our horses generally, except for a couple of rescues possibly, who did not come from the best backgrounds, do not behave that way because they are not abused. Let's move my horse up here a little bit. Come on, come Scout. So move him up here and continue this in just a second here. So it's not too breezy, you guys can hear me today. Whoa. I may have to edit that out a little. It'll get a little too long for this video. So the fact that our horses are so playful, looking for our attention, and calm when they're doing their job, not resisting, what we're asking of them, I think speaks for itself that this is not something that's abusive for a horse. This is what horses want to do. This is what horses were bred to do. You may be against the fact that we ever domesticated horses, that we, do use them for things, but the fact is that we wouldn't be here or have our cities if horses had not helped us with that work before we had the technologies that we have today to accomplish all of the kinds of things that we have. Horses were used for so many centuries, doing all kinds of work and in wars and things like that with us, farm work. They've, hauled things for us and hauled us for so long that their bodies evolved and adapted over time to do that better. And they're at a point, especially a draft horse, like the, big chunky kinds that we're working with, some Belgian crosses here or Percheron crosses, their body kind of deteriorates if they aren't given regular work. They could, survive, but they just wouldn't be in the greatest shape. The same way as a person, stops working out or, isn't getting as much physical activity, they just aren't really doing as well. So even if they weren't doing this job for an income, it wouldn't really be kind to them to deprive them of some type of work because it's so ingrained in them. It's great for their mental stimulation. An older person kind of just sits around all day. They're not, going to be that healthy. They have to get up and move. And a person may not want to, may not be in a mood to move around, but it's good for them to get some exercise, to get out there, to move. So they may have to be pushed a bit to, get out and move. But it's the same way you may, have to get your horse to do some work to benefit the horse. You do need a healthy, happy horse to do a good job. This job would be very difficult and not fair to our horse, to our customers, to ourselves, to the public, if they didn't enjoy doing it and if it wasn't easy for them and they didn't choose to do it. All you can do is ask your horse to do something. This is a partnership. It goes both ways. If he doesn't want to do something, I have no physical strength to make him do something he doesn't want to do. We ask. The horse thinks, you know what, I like pleasing you, I like doing things for you. I'm going to do the thing you asked of me because it doesn't hurt me, because I like doing it, because I want to make you happy, essentially. That's what it's like when you have a partnership with an animal like a horse. Another thing that I want to get into is a lot of people seem to think that this is difficult work for a horse, or that pulling a carriage that the carriage itself is too heavy. I'm about 100 pounds. I have physically pulled this carriage myself before. I'm going to show you the carriage over here. Can I get that in there? Let's see there. Yep, there's a carriage. Okay. So I have pulled that carriage out. All the stablemen pull these carriages out every day. We pull the carriages out every day ourselves. It is not difficult because there are wheels on the carriage and the way the physics work of this. It is not hard to pull a carriage. And then you think about all this muscle in this horse. Look at this horse. You're going to tell me that all this muscle here, that this chunk of a horse, can I even get to his chest? No, he just wants to play with this. You're going to tell me you don't think he has the physical strength to do this? You think that this isn't extremely easy for him if I can do it? is a horse. You've heard so many sayings about the strength of a horse. What, do you just forget that? Do you think this is a puppy, a kitten or something pulling the carriage? I don't know why you would think that. When he is standing here like this, by the way, he is not hanging on to that carriage. It is not, he does not feel the weight of that. It is sitting in these tugs here. This, can I get that in there? Let's see, where's my hand? Okay, so this is called the tug, and this shaft of the carriage is sitting in there. This is very light. Like, do you see how I'm like picking this up a little bit? Like this, it's nothing. It's just sitting there. The way that this whole weight distribution works with the saddle, it's in a place on the wither. This is all the way that horses were bred in their breed and that they are now built to do. This is like the way that they are structured and the way that they have evolved working with people has made all of the things that we do for them, it allows them to do their job very easily. It allows them to do this job comfortably. So the way that a carriage will work is very similar to the way that you may have seen like a hot dog stand guy, like he'll push the cart, or when you're in the supermarket and you have like a shopping cart filled with a whole bunch of heavy groceries, you like totally have to restock everything, but you're pushing that along in the supermarket really easily. That's because of the wheels and the physics of all of that. You're not dragging that dead weight. This is not a plow. Plow work, farm work is a lot more difficult for a horse. And what horses do isn't actually pulling. So he's got this collar here. You can see that. So what the horse actually is doing is he's pushing into this collar, and that is connected to these traces, and that is connected to the carriage. So when he pushes his chest forward into this collar, there's different types of collars, but this kind, they all have the same, they work the same. When he pushes into that collar, he is pulling the carriage forward, essentially, right? The carriage is being pulled forward, but he's not actually pulling it, he's pushing. So when you're pushing something, it's a lot easier than pulling something, like pulling a plow, as I've said. So we're just moving him up on the line now. Oh, yes, ho means stop for horse. What he does is very easy. It is not abuse for a horse to pull a carriage. It is easy work. It's beneficial to them. It's giving them some good exercise, build up their muscle. They may be able to survive without work, but they can't thrive without work. This is part of good care of a horse, providing them with some type of work. That's not abuse. They'll do a little bit of work when they, go uphill a bit. They don't really have too much work when they go downhill because our carriages are equipped with brakes, and they have what we call breeching in the back of their harness that will essentially just hold the carriage from running up into them. So the work we're giving them is not too much for a horse to handle. Our horses do not stay attached to the carriage when they go back to the stable. When they're here, they don't have that weight pulling on them. When we do have to park on a hill, because unfortunately animal rights extremists did push the city to move us from flat ground to some hack lines, some carriage stands on a hill, which is not what we wanted. Originally, they wanted us facing down the hill on top of it. We're like, no. Anyway, when they're on that stand, we put a block behind the carriage so they don't have that weight of the carriage on them. Here we're on flat ground, so no, the horse does not feel the carriage. He's not constantly working. When he's resting, he's resting. And you have to remember that these are anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 pound animals, depending on your horse's size. Around 1,500 pounds or so. This chunky, muscular guy here could be closer to about 2,000. It's possible. Haven't weighed him exactly. So if you think about that proportionately to a human being, this is not difficult for them. They are not working like sunrise to sunset. It's possible a horse like in an Amish community may do a lot harder work. They rely on those horses for everything, and they don't have regulations like we do in the city, which limit the amount of time you can possibly be out here. So they have very limited work they're doing out here. It's It's got them regulated to the kinds of temperatures they can be out in. This is kind of a cushy job for them. Or, and on top of it, the horses kind of just get to play and hang out with their person like the whole day. So for our horses, the maximum time that they can be out of their stable is 9 hours. That's the cutoff. So the amount of work they do per day, usually just a couple of hours. Now this 9 hours will include the time it takes them to come from the stable to the park and from the park to the stable. It includes the time when they're just standing around, like right now, not, doing any rides. That's when they're resting. They don't have the weight of the carriage on them when they're resting. It's just sitting there. They can move around within the shafts pretty easily. So it's not, something that's bothersome to them. It takes maybe about 20 to 35 minutes or so for their commute between the stable and the park. I like to give myself about an hour, just in case I hit any traffic. I don't really have to feel rushed. At most, I think it's ever taken me is like 45 minutes. Maybe if I miss like every single red light or green light, and kind of, hit some traffic or something like that. But it's not a long commute. You cannot force a horse that doesn't want to do something to do something that they don't want to do. It's just not physically possible. When a horse doesn't want to do something, they're either just going to stand there and not go forward or go anywhere. They're going to back up. They may, go sideways or, jump up and down and, rear up or something like that. A lot of different things they do. But when you see our horses in the day-to-day, I mean, they are relaxed. All we do is make a little clicking sound or, give a small signal with our lines or reins when you're riding a horse. And they, respond pretty quickly because they're like, oh, I know that cue. I know how to do it. I do it well. I want to show you I can do it well. I like doing it because you're happy when I do it. And you give me food when I do things good. And, it's just this back and forth, like whatever their reward system is in their head is firing every time they do this activity with us. So I just have this nose in my face all day, basically, when I'm out here. That's my little reward system, I guess, going off of, being reminded that my horse definitely likes me, likes what we're doing together, likes me being here, wants my attention, wants me to notice him, wants me to pay attention to him, not you guys, which I will in a little bit, be out here with full shift with him. So, so remember that because these are such large animals, all we can do is ask them to do something. We cannot force them to do something that they don't want to do. We would have such a hard time with that. If you have a horse that's acting like that, you don't keep them here doing this job. It's just not good for anyone. So another misconception people have about our horses and why they may think that they're being abused is that they think they look sad. And I think the problem with that is that a lot of people don't really understand horses' body language and expressions. So when a horse's ears are fully pinned back, they are angry. But when they're just tilted back, that's just a relaxed state. They're just, hanging out, really. They are listening to something, behind them. They could be napping. So ears tilted back, that's good. If their ears are forward, like when they're really alert, they don't usually stay that way. And if they do, that's not a good sign. That horse is stressed about something. They are in higher alert. And they're thinking, do I have to take off or fight for myself or, something's about to happen. If they do it for a moment, they're just interested in something. They're like, oh, hey, what's that over there? Something's piqued their interest. Horses don't stand around with their ears straight forward all the time. And if they do, that's a hyper horse. That's an excited horse, and something's going on with them that isn't the right temperament to have in the city. So we like to see our horses' ears tilted back. Our horses will lower their heads when they're relaxed or napping. That is something that you want to see in a horse that's just resting and hanging out. You don't want to see a horse with their head high in the air for an extended period of time because that horse has their head up to look around for any predators, something that's, caught their attention. You want that head lowered and down, which could look sad if you think of the way a person or maybe a dog might express themselves. Another thing that we like to see in our horses is when they'll cock a hind leg. My horse is doing it a little bit right now. You can kind of see. It's not as pronounced as it may be sometimes. I forgot that on there. Hang on. Yeah, like that. So it's not as pronounced as some horses may do it at times where it's like, up a little bit higher. But essentially, he's just not putting all of his weight on all four legs. Which is not something that means that the horse is hurt or injured. It could in some situations, but generally that just means that a horse is relaxed and resting, and they don't need to be on all four legs ready to take off. That's the way that they can sleep. If you think about the way that you stand, you don't usually stand with all your weight evenly on both feet. You may shift it from one side to the other. That's all the horse is doing. It's really the same concept.
I was just saying, the same guy that built the Dakota.
So when our horses are relaxed or napping and nothing's going on, we don't want them all high strung. We want to see that hind leg cocked. That's a good sign to us. Hind leg cocked, head is lowered, ears are tilted back, eyes are not wide, they may be half asleep. That's not because they're overworked and tired and exhausted or sad or anything like that. That's just a good sign for a horse to have when they are in between rides and in a place where they feel comfortable, around people they feel comfortable with. These are all good things to see in a horse. So again, on this topic of claiming that what we're doing with our horses is abusing them, let's say, we have a horse that gets sick or something like that. Are you going to say that that's a sign of us abusing the horse? If you had a dog that got cancer, do you think that someone telling you that you caused that to happen and your dog getting cancer is a sign of you abusing that dog? That doesn't make any sense, right? So it doesn't make sense when you say it about us and our horses. If you're driving your car with your child and you get into a car accident, does that mean that you've just abused your child because, you were driving and your child was involved in an accident when they were in your care? No, that's not what we say. That's not what we do. So if we are involved in an accident, that's an accident. Accidents are not abuse. They also happen very rarely in our industry, which I have gone into in other videos that you can check out. I can never say anything serious with this mouth coming in every now and then. Hopefully you guys are taking it seriously. And I think my horse is always speaking for himself to let you guys know he wants to be here with me. He is enjoying this. He wants to be with people, with you guys, talking in his way in these videos. So abuse or cruelty to an animal is essentially failing to provide good care of an animal, and it can be neglect or intentionally harming that animal in some way. None of those things are anything close to what we do here in the city with our horses. We do give them food and water. We do give them this exercise that's beneficial to them. We are very well regulated with probably too many regulations at this point. So we can't work them in all kinds of weather. Although they are outdoor animals, they can pretty much, work in anything, but we don't do that. We do not fit this definition of hurting the animals that we work with. you know, we have this whip on the carriage, but it's not like you go around whipping a horse. When we tap a horse with the lines, these are not things that hurt the horse. If you've ever seen horses out in a pasture, in a field or something, when they're playing or fighting, or if you've been bitten by a horse, or kicked by a horse, or stepped on by a horse, you may not even be here right now, but if you have in a mild way, you'll know how strong this animal is. You know that that I cannot inflict that type of pain onto an animal. And if you did, they wouldn't act this way. I think the fact that our horses are very friendly, they do not show signs of having a negative time with people, that really says a lot for it speaks for itself. He's like, I must prove this to you. You would have a really hard time convincing my horse or any of the horses here that they're being abused. They would be like, you're crazy. I have a good life. I am happy here. I'm getting cared for well here. Really, he really wants you to know that, I think. I haven't even given him like any carrots or treats, and he's still like, this isn't begging. This isn't even, I mean, I guess it is, but this is just what he's done from day one with me. In some mild version. It's gotten to be more over time. So horses that do not have good times with people will shy away from them, maybe try to bite them aggressively. They will, you know, kick out at them, or, you know, there are many signs that people who work with horse rescues come here and they've seen horses like this a lot. They deal with horses like that all the time, and they're like, these horses are not abused. These are not rescue horses. There is no such thing as rescuing a New York City carriage horse because they are not in need of rescue. We have had cases occasionally where we do rescue horses. We bring them here for a good life, a better life. They may not have come from the best background at times. In other videos, I have discussed why there's nothing wrong with horses being in the city. Horses built our cities. The air quality where they work is perfectly fine. Accidents are extremely rare. I've gone in length into this in another video, so there's nothing abusive about a horse being in the city. There's nothing unnatural about a horse being in the city. They have always been here with us. Horses are where people are. Some people live in an urban environment, some people live in a rural environment. It's the same with horses.